space of uncertainty. It matters how you feel, and pay attention to that. It's not 100% predictive, but often it's a great indicator of saying, wait a minute, what am I dealing with? And you can hit that pause button. And then when you can sense that cause and effect would only be obvious in hindsight, or when you sit down to plan, by whatever method you use to plan, you can sense, I think I'm going to be able to develop only less than half of this feature set. You know, what I think needs to be created, I'm not exactly sure. And rather than just wallowing in it and staying in the building and trying to plan our way through it, get out of the building. All right, we've talked about those. So let's close up with these experiments and stories. So in reality, we don't control uncertainty. Not in our lives, not with our teenagers, not with our spouses. It's really not about control. All these impulses that we have to cause the world, to force the world to be the way that we want it, dang it, because we're good at it, we have to let that go to some measure. We still ultimately control ourselves and our own action and our own responses to the world. And as Frankl said, that is an amazingly powerful influence. But there's a limit to what we control. We have to turn guesses into knowledge through the scientific method. Now, many of you have seen Lean Startup and its frame, build, measure, learn approach. Just by show of hands, how many are familiar with Lean Startup? Okay, fantastic. I hope hands continue to go up as we do this. But Lean Startup essentially says, if I have an idea, it's most effective to actually go and build it. Notice it doesn't say sit in a room and plan. I need to then build something of value and measure how well it worked. And with that data, learn new ideas to then repeat the process. And the quicker I go through this process, the more effective an engine I'm creating for building the right thing. Because in reality, over 2/3 of software built is rarely or never used. That is an amazing multi-billion-dollar waste. However, Lean Startup, as great as it is, I believe is missing a step, and several other researchers feel the same way. That in reality, we need to frame the problem that we're trying to solve, not just build an idea. So this step, this framing of the step is really critically important. Stanford researchers in the design school name it design thinking, where through empathy and through research, I need to make sure that I sharpen the problem that I'm trying to solve, rather than just think that the solution I have is what I want to push to market. You'll see that theme recur as we continue on. Lean Startup emphasizes creating an hypothesis that we can measure then against the results that we expect. And don't get lazy and say, well, you know, because I failed, I'm just going to retroactively call that an experiment. Because, you know, that's what we do. Failure is expected, right? We've got to get used to that as well. But we've got to be disciplined in the way that we approach it so that we can validate the learning. Because if we don't have a hypothesis, we're not going to actually know what we're testing. If we don't know what we're testing, we're not going to learn, and the scientific method breaks down. We all did this in grade school with our science projects. We just need to resurrect it. And instead of looking at a painting and saying, I know exactly how that's going to turn out, and building one module in high fidelity at a time, we need to imagine some distant goal and iterate toward it. Is the hand up? Is it down? Is it orange? Is it dark? Okay, and then we finally get there. This is the space of iterating toward an uncertain idea, where the principle ultimately is coming from a vague idea to a finished product by learning, pivoting and making course corrections as needed, and improving quality as we go. Those who expect us to solve the risks will be more entranced by our ability to take them through this process than they will by any promise we can make them that can predict the future. They cannot replace you with somebody who can predict the future. They can only replace you with someone who will lie to them.